presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Blackmore. We are Florida.
A weekend of baseball begins here in Miami. Roof closed, window shut, AC on. As a Friday night crowd arrives, the Marlins and the Nationals know each other quite well. Justin Bour, a D.C. native. Bryce Harper has seen the fish. Heck, Marcell Ozuna and the Marlins have tangled with Anthony Rendon and the Nationals 10 times already. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz along with Eduardo Perez. Welcome to Miami. So 10 times already. There's no mystery, and they've split the 10 games right down the middle.
Every player knows everyone's middle name. That's how much they've played against each other. But they won't see each other again till September. So right now, these 3 games are really important for each of the teams.
What does it mean to the pitchers, whom both lineups are familiar with? And let's start with Justin Nicolino.
Well, we all know he's a contact pitcher. He needs to be able to establish both sides of the plate successfully. If he's able to do that, then he can get those ground balls and the fly balls he needs. But he has to be able to pitch to contact and not try to strike out guys. That's not his game. We saw the 5 walks in his previous outing. That can't happen.
Nationals just saw Nicolino. Of course, the Marlins just saw Tanner Roark, and the Marlins have handled him. The odd thing about Roark, against the Marlins, not so good. Against the rest of baseball, he's been brilliant.
He's been brilliant keeping the ball down against the rest of the league. Now with the Marlins, they make him work. They make him go deep into counts. They make him elevate the pitches, and that's exactly what the Marlins have to do again to be successful.
To be successful, many people feel the Marlins need their big man to get going. How do you jumpstart Giancarlo? Stanton struggles, and maybe a solution, maybe some daylight, as the Fish and the Nationals get ready to go on a Friday in Miami. Of cold and rain in the Northeast. A visit to D.C. and then to Philly, home for the Nationals and then the Rays. And to get this homestand and this 3-game set going, let's head out to center field. Craig Minervini, Jeff Conine. Hi, guys.
Hey, thank you very much, Rich Walsh. Looking forward to the call with Eduardo coming up in just a bit. First of this 5-game homestand for Miami. And before the game today, in fact, before the Marlins even stretched for a good half hour, maybe 35 minutes, Giancarlo Stanton was in that batting cage with hitting coach Barry Bonds and Don Mattingly, and a lot of instruction and chatter going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of instruction going on there because Giancarlo Stanton's really struggling right now at the plate. And, hey, every hitter goes through a spell like he's going through right now. And in your mind, it's the toughest thing to do in sports to hit a baseball. So in your mind, you just keep trying to work on stuff, trying to figure it out. And I think sometimes it's all about simplification. Going back to ground zero, seeing the ball, hitting the ball. And I know it's easier said than done, but I think that's what they're trying to tell him right now. Just relax, trust your abilities, and let things happen.
You got two guys with impressive resumes talking to you.
You couldn't get better instruction than those two guys right there in that cage. And I think when Giancarlo Stanton listens to them, I think it's tough for the Washington Nationals right now because as long as bad streak he's in right now, he's going to come out of it.
Yeah.
And when he comes out of it, it's a lot in a little bit of time. So look out, National League.
And the nice thing is the Marlins have been able to sort of hold their serve, if you will. Still 2 games over 500, but you mix in a little more Giancarlo there, and it's a difference maker.
This is the guy that can climb on my back for about a week straight, and he'll carry this team offensively.
And a good time to do it against this Washington National Club, first place, that went in and played very well in smacking Brian Harvey, among others, around after Syndergaard had that good start in the first game of their just completed series against the Mets. So Nicolino and the Fish against the Nats, and Tanner Roark next.
On Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by the all-new 2017 Chrysler Pacifica by the Florida Department of Transportation, reminding you, drive sober or get pulled over by your local Toyota dealers. Let's go places, and by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. Ready to go. Justin Nicolino, start number 5 coming up for the Orlando native. And he'll be facing a Nationals lineup that just had their way with Matt Harvey and the Mets.
And if you notice the difference in the lineup, yes, Bryce Harper's in the 3 spot, but look who's in front of him, Jason Worth, now getting on base, and then they dropped Anthony Rendon to the 6th hole, followed by Wilson Ramos in the 7th spot, Danny Espinosa and Tanner Roark pitching in the 9th spot.
It's brought to you by UHealth Sports Medicine and Justin Nicolino. Last Saturday in D.C., it was a really rough start for him in more ways than one. The start itself, he walked the first 3 hitters he faced in the first inning. Calmed down after that. He walked 5 total in 4 2/3. He wasn't knocked around in terms of hits, but those walks hurt him, and the Marlins lost the ball game 6-4.
Well, he's a control pitcher. He is one that will need to use this defense to be able to get it going. You got Christian Yelich, Marcell Ozuna, and Giancarlo Stanton in the outfield, infield, and the corners, Martin Prado and Justin Bour. And then up the middle, Adeiny and Derek.
And so Nicolino goes to work, the 24-year-olds, gets Michael Taylor, Jason Worth, and Bryce Harper. And yes, the Nationals feeling pretty good about themselves, dispatching the Mets and knocking Matt Harvey around while Steven Strasburg continued to shine. Nationals come in with a 1-game lead over Philadelphia, of all teams. The Phillies are a game back, the Mets 2.5 back, and the Marlins 3.5 back. And Fort Lauderdale's Michael Taylor will lead it off with Jason Worth and Bryce Harper right behind him. Paul Emmel, the home plate umpire, gives Michael Taylor the green light. Here we go. First pitch fastball whacked into left. Yelich comes on, diving, he got it. Shoe top grab by Yelich in left. A nice way to start the Gold Glover in left.
Well, it's all about the jump. You better be ready from the first pitch, and that's exactly what Christian was, ready in left field. You see him getting down low so it doesn't get in the lights, keeping the ball away from that, making a nice play in left.
Yelich made a terrific catch just like that on the road trip that helped seal a win for the Fish. And here's Worth. And as Eduardo pointed out, a tweak in Dusty Baker's lineup since the Marlins last saw them. Worth up in the 2 spot, and Anthony Rendon further down in the lineup to hit 6th. Not a lot of experience for Nicolino against these national hitters. A start last year, a start this year, in which he's lost both of those ball games. And Worth, of all the hitters, has had the most success. He's 3 for 5. Nicolino has not given up a homer to any of these nationals. And the interesting thing about Justin, not a lot of strikeouts, just 4 in 4 starts, but he's given up just the 1 home run.
So far, the difference from his last game to this game is the tempo. Even though there's only been 5 pitches, look how quick he gets on that mound. A lot more confidence than in the previous game in D.C.
Worth sends that one up into the seats. Yes, last night it was a dark night for the Dark Knight, as the Nationals scored 9 runs, all charged to Matt Harvey's line, 6 of them earned. Yelich going to have to get another one. He cuts it off. Worth will settle for a single. The Nationals have hit 2 balls hard to left, and here comes trouble in Bryce Harper. Greater coverage of baseball is brought to you by T-Mobile. Chris Sale, how about that? He is now 9-0, a complete game win. And there is the Dark Knight for Matt Harvey. Vin Scully honored by the rival Angels in his final game broadcasting in Anaheim. Nice that Mike Scioscia was involved in that ceremony. Of course, Scioscia, a longtime Dodger, as a player and as a coach in the center. Ozuna is there, and he makes the catch. 1 pitch to Bryce Harper, a nice out to get.
Well, so far 2 nice outs this inning, both on first pitches. This one right on the outside corner, kissing it. Getting Bryce to commit. You can get him out on one pitch. Solves a lot of issues.
And here is Daniel Murphy. The Angel players that were there for the ceremony, Mike Trout and some others. It was almost like Babe Ruth had walked into the room when they got a chance to sidle up to Scully and talk baseball with him.
Well, you can have a bunch of Hollywood stars in a room. Here comes Vince Scully, and people want the picture with Vince ahead of a lot of Hollywood A-list actors.
Daniel Murphy is still hot. That's into center field. 10-pitch hitting, 4 balls in the air, and a scoreless start. Ready to lead it off for Miami in the first. We're underway. Nationals and Marlins. Eduardo Perez and UHealth Sports Medicine present Miami's lineup.
Well, you already mentioned Dietrich in the one spot. Then you have Martin Prado, Christian Yelich, Giancarlo Stanton trying to get it going again here with Marcelo Zuna, Justin Bour, JT Realmuto, Daniel Echeverria in the 9th spot, in the 8th spot, and in the 9th spot it's Justin Nicolino.
Dietrich and Tanner Roark. This is already the 4th start this year for Roark, and a fastball hits Dietrich, and he's on his way down to first. Wow, that was quick. Marlins had their leadoff man aboard. And that fastball in. Dietrich didn't even have to leave the elbow. He just brought it with him as he turns, and it clipped him. So he's on base. Martin Prado, Christian Yelich will follow. I mean, 4 starts already. It's May 20th. And this is game 11 between the two teams. Roark has had the assignment 4 times now. And he's 0-3, an 8.40 ERA. Prado in the box, a 371 clip. Much like Daniel Murphy, there really hasn't been a spot this year that Martin has slowed down. Roark in the rotation 2 years ago, won 15 games, had a really nice year. But with the addition of Max Scherzer last year, Roark kind of got pushed to the back of the line and had to go back to the bullpen and did not have a strong season.
No, he had to suck it up. He had to go back to the bullpen. I think that part is a mental part, but you never heard him complain. Give him a lot of credit for that, and the Nationals knew it.
Prado pulls it down the line. And of all the Marlins against Roark, Prado is front and center, 9 for 18 with a home run.
One of the biggest things Martin has been able to do all season, and for a matter of fact for his career, is use the opposite field, right field, really well. Especially with runners at first base, you see that big hole. Might take one that he'll try to pull, but after that, he'll commit to the 4-3 spot.
Slowly hit to short. Espinosa, the turn by Murphy is in time. And Prado hits into a double play. Defensively tonight, brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Nationals with Worth and Harper in the corner spots. Taylor covers a lot of ground in center. Anthony Rendon underrated defensively at third. Ryan Zimmerman at first. And Espinosa still sporting that winner's beard. And Daniel Murphy up the middle with Wilson Ramos behind the plates. Here's Yelich, who had a very productive road trip. Yelich on the trip had 9 hits, 4 doubles, a triple, and a home run. Marlins split 4 games in DC, won the first in Philly, and the Phils won the last 2. On the ground to Murphy. That's a 7-pitch inning. Quickly to the second we go.
Está disponible en español a través del SAP y es presentado a ustedes por Kendall Toyota y West Kendall Toyota.
Back in Miami, Nationals and Fish. Ryan Zimmerman, Anthony Rendon, Wilson Ramos. Justin Nicolino misses down low. Ball's in the air. 2 to left, 2 to center. And an economy of pitches in that first inning for Nicolino. Zimmerman has been in somewhat of a rut, and especially when he was hitting behind Bryce Harper, and especially in that Cubs series, he clobbers one to left. Back goes Yelich to the track. That is way, way out of here. Ryan Zimmerman, a prodigious homer. his 5th of the season. Just the 2nd homer that Nicolino has given up. That ball was crushed.
Watch the location on this 2-0 pitch. Right down the middle. This is one thing that Justin cannot do, is fall behind the big power hitters. Pitch up over the plate. Has to be able to get ahead and then work the corners. Continue to work even when he's behind in the count.
Now Rendon. Well, if Zimmerman's bat comes to life, and we talked about that in Washington, D.C. If Zimmerman's bat comes to life, then the Nationals train is really going to get moving, because they've been able to do what they've done without his bat, without Rendon's bat. That one smacked to left as well. And Yelich, who's been busy already, picks it off the wall. A double for Rendon, and right now Justin Nicolino's not fooling anybody. Let's check in with Craig Minervini. Craig?
Rich, thank you very much. Team USA Soccer is here. Goalkeeper Tim Howard with us, along with some of his teammates. They're training, getting ready for the Copa America Centenario, which Fox will be televising in June. It's a big deal this year, Tim, because it's in the U.S. for the first time. 45th edition of this tournament.
It's huge. You know, we're excited. It's a huge challenge for us. We got some tough teams ahead of us, but I tell you what, team's ready. We're looking sharp.
It's been held mostly, I guess, Latin America, South America for all these years. Who's the team? Who are the tough teams for you guys to beat, or can you pick? There's 16 teams in the tournament this year.
Well, our first game is against Colombia, and they're, you know, they're ranked very highly in the world, and so it's going to be a tough game for us. Obviously, Brazil and Argentina are everyone's picks, so we'll see if we can upset things a little bit.
You guys have been training in Miami. How's the city of Miami treating you guys?
Like it always does, very well. You know, the heat finally came through today. You know, it's been raining all week, but we love training down here.
Do you train here because of the weather, the heat?
Yeah, I think just to kind of get acclimated to the tropical climates that we normally face down in Central America. So it's just kind of become our home base.
Marlins Park, you play a little baseball in your day or what?
I did when I was a kid, but I told him I could run the bases. I don't know if I can hit too well.
How do you like the ballpark here? They have played some soccer, turn football, as you say, here.
It's beautiful. I mean, I've heard great things about it, but to actually step in here and it's a pretty cool atmosphere.
Who should we watch here? I know you got some teammates here to look for. Fox is going to be televising. This is June 3rd to the 26th. There's another shot is ripped down the line. And that's a fair ball off the batter Ramos, and the Nats are going to get their second run.
Yeah, you know, I think we've got a bunch of household names: Michael Bradley, Jermaine Jones, Clint Dempsey. You know, so there's a lot of guys that should cause some excitement this year, you know, for people watching at home.
All right, good luck, Tim. Thanks for visiting with us, and I know you're going off to Puerto Rico to a little tune-up, and then you know, big month of June.
Thank you very much.
And the MLS too, by the way. You going back to the MLS?
Back, yeah. I'm going back to the Colorado Rapids. I'm excited.
I hope that Beckham's team works out here, because Miami should have an MLS team.
It would be very cool.
All right, thanks a lot for your time.
Pleasure.
Tim Howard, great goalkeeper for the USA. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Craig, and good luck to Team USA. We'll be watching on Fox. Right now, watching Justin Nicolino is pitching coach Juan Nieves, and what he sees, he can't be all that pleased with. The Nationals have barreled up, by my count, every pitch they've made contact with. The outs in the first, and the homer, and the two doubles here in the second. Espinosa takes in. Eduardo, what do you see?
Well, so far he's just getting too much of the plate. Justin is the type of pitcher where he has to be able to pitch outside of the zone successfully and try to get the hitters to lure them to swing at pitches that are balls. It's all about deception with him. He needs to be able to miss barrel, and he's not doing that. See right there, that pitch. JT wanted that pitch outer half. Pitch stayed out over the middle. That cannot happen with Justin in order for him to be successful.
Count, a ball and a strike. Espinosa in the 8th spot, and then you've got the pitcher Tanner Roark. Wilson Ramos at second base. Rendon and Ramos doubling after the Zimmerman homer. Change up blasted left field. Back goes Yelich. Track makes the catch. Tagging is Ramos. Not a lot of speed, and he's going to arrive in time at third. where Roark has a chance to drive him in with 1 out.
Really good base running by Ramos right there. With no outs, you get the first out on the fly ball. Now you get the third base. Scoring position with Tanner Roark up. Watch where the location of this pitch was. Out over the plate on a changeup. You see Ramos right there, reads it, knows that it's going to be caught, tags up, and gets the third base easily.
Roark takes a fastball. 88 miles an hour right now from Nicolino.
And infield's in. This is a situation where Don Mattingly understands that they have to try to minimize damage in this inning.
Would Dusty Baker squeeze here?
I don't think so. Not with 1 strike. Now, 1-1 is a different story than 0-1. He would, but with the infield in, it has to be a perfect bunt. If he does do a squeeze with a slow runner at third, it has to be a very good jump by Ramos, and it shouldn't be a safety squeeze. It has to be a straight-out squeeze play. I let him swing away, and I don't do it.
Count 1-2. You've got Michael Taylor up next. This is a Nationals team that wore out Matt Harvey and the Mets last night, and they look like they just got off the plane and came out here smoking hot again. Breaking ball in the dirt. Real Muto going to have to throw him out at first, and does. And actually that's partially true because the Mets played a night game last night, not a getaway afternoon game. So the Nationals got in about 4:30 in the morning.
But it's a lot easier when you get a big win, especially the way they did it in New York. Losing the first game, but coming back and winning the next 2, especially against Matt Harvey, which struggled throughout the night against the Nationals, taking really good at-bats against Harvey.
Here's Taylor, who opened the night with a line drive out to left, and he hammers that ball to left. That is deep. That is gone in a hurry. My goodness. The Washington Nationals have come out swinging and have put 4 early runs up. Michael Taylor, just his 4th of the season.
Well, a lot of left-handed pitchers call this the get me over curveball to try to get ahead in the count. Problem is Michael Taylor never got that memo. Curveball out over the plate. Again, another well-barreled stroke by Taylor. Big home run with 2 outs. First pitch. That's what Dusty Baker loves about this kid.
The Marlins today reactivated Edwin Jackson. They may have to literally activate him here if this continues. Worth takes up, and it's 2-0.
Well, we saw how effective the curveball against Tanner Roark was out of the zone for a strike 3. Get guys to chase. Right now, he's not getting the regular position players to chase. They're making him throw more pitches out over the plate, and they're not missing.
Worth takes that changeup for a strike. And it's 3-1. Ryan Zimmerman's home run, 416 feet. Taylor's goes 389.
And that's 389 because there were seats in the way of it. That ball was hit on a line. Could have gone even further, I believe.
3-2 coming. The hardest ball hit of the inning was Wilson Ramos's RBI double. It left the bat at 111 miles an hour. And so for young Justin Nicolino, he's got to get it together and try to stop the tide. Worth clobbers one down the line.
That's foul.
And foul. barely fouled. My goodness, that ended up in the taste of Miami.
Oh, wow. That ball is wrapped in ropa vieja.
Three-two. Breaking ball, strike three call. Worth doesn't like it. Nicolino escapes, but not before the Nationals blast him for 4 runs. 2 homers, 2 doubles in the second.
It's a no-no.
Oh, tomorrow night, Kevin Brown, bobblehead night. 7:10 start. First 5,000 get a Kevin Brown bobblehead. It's all part of an All-Star Saturday. Dress as your favorite superhero on Superhero Night. Of course, the all-you-can-eat seats as well. Here's Giancarlo Stanton in the box facing Tanner Roark. Stanton today had about a 25 to 30-minute session with Barry Bonds and Don Mattingly. That one a broken bat. Espinosa to first. Eduardo, you were down there, a former hitting coach in the big leagues. What was discussed and what were they working on?
Well, let's first and foremost elaborate that early hitting happens commonly and it happens a lot during the season. And that's one thing that Barry Bonds wanted to let me know, because I asked him and he said, listen, you know, it's work that had to be done. We're finally home. We can do this. And he wanted him to be able to shift his weight, the weight transfer, and be able to hit the ball out in front instead of leaning back like he was doing in opening up and causing a lot of ruckus on the outer half of the plate. Once as a hitter you start feeling and start committing to the pitch inside, everything else is gone. Sliders down and away appear to be strikes. It just seemed like he was swinging at everything, and Barry wanted him to slow down and see the ball off the hand. That's actually a good sign, him getting jammed, because it lets you know good hitters get jammed. It lets you know that he's staying back a little bit more. Now it's trying to barrel it is a different story, but that's a good baby step right there.
Well, as much as Stanton has struggled, Ozuna has flourished. He had an 11-pitch walk on the road trip, which just shows you the type of progress that Ozuna has made this year. Pulls that one foul, the count at 3-2.
Well, after having the conversation with Giancarlo, then I turned to Ozuna, and Barry's eyes lit up. He's like, yeah, he's been listening since day one, and he's just trying to absorb as much as he can, eager to learn, and little by little he's putting it into his game.
To Hopper to second. Murphy gets the out. What a luxury now for Tanner Roark, who's not beaten the Marlins this year, to have a 4-0 lead.
Yeah, and you look at Tanner Roark's scouting report. A lot of sinkers and a lot of sliders. He has to be able to keep the ball down, and he's no fan of Miami. Why? Well, they've been hitting him hard this season. Last season, so far 0-5 in his career against the Fish. So he wants to be able to get out strong, and guess what? He's a Fighting Illini out of the University of Illinois.
On Saturday, Justin Bour homered against him, and he whacks one into right. That's a hit. So a 2-out single, and that'll bring up JT Realmuto. Realmuto, a nice road trip, 6 hits in 13 at bats. A .310 average as he stands in. Danny Echeverria on deck. A lot of ground ball outs for Roark. All 3 outs on the ground in the first, and a couple here in the second.
Well, ever since that trip out to the West Coast, to be exact, in San Francisco, where JT decided to commit to move closer to the plate, he's been a different hitter. Been hitting the ball from line to line, been barreling up a lot of pitches, starting to recognize and not chase out of the zone.
Similar adjustment late last season by National second baseman, then Mets second baseman Daniel Murphy. Of course, Murphy went on that great run in the postseason. Was the NLCS MVP. Pitch in to Realmuto on the count. Now 2-1.
That's a bad sign for a pitcher when you throw a pitch effectively on the inner half of the plate and a hitter doesn't even budge, doesn't flinch, you don't move his feet. Now you start thinking, what do I go with? The slider down and away will not work right here. Does he go back in, or does he go up in the zone?
I like Paul Emmel's work behind home plate. He's quick, decisive, doesn't exactly say strike, something along the lines of but you know it's a strike. All right, let's listen to the strike call. I like originality.
Every umpire has his distinctive strike call. Some slow, some quick, some dramatic.
Into center, that's a base hit for Realmuto. Bour will stop at second. The Marlins have put together a couple of 2-out hits. And that brings up Echeverria.
Remember, I was talking about that pitch inside he threw previous. Well, this is almost the same pitch, and look how he stays inside of that pitch with the swing, hitting it right back up to middle. As a pitcher and as a catcher, when you see a hitter not commit with his hips on a pitch inside, you know the slider's not going to work, and now you're in trouble. That's exactly what JT's doing with the pitch inside in the zone.
Echeverria always seems to hit well in Philly. And in 2 games, he played in 2 of the 3. He had 5 hits. So there's something magical about Philly for Etch, and the Marlins are hoping it jump starts his swing.
And I know what the fan is thinking. Then why not just play him on that 3rd game also? Why not give him all 3 games? I'm with you, fans.
0-1. Sharp breaking ball, and it's 0-2.
But it's important also to keep his legs fresh and to be able to keep the bench players and role players active throughout.
And a manager's favorite time to give somebody a day off is the day before an off day, because you essentially get to give them 2 off. Born Real Muto out there with 2 outs, and Roark misses. It pops out of Ramos's glove, and that does 2 things. It moves the runners up, but it opens up first base. He's in front of Echeverria, so you would think he'd go after him.
Right, 1-2 count, but you go after him by not throwing a strike, a hittable pitch. You make him chase right now. That's a little bit of a laziness right there as the ball cut on Ramos, assuming it wasn't going to move. You cannot commit to try to strike him out in the zone. It has to be away from the zone. And if Echeverria decides not to chase, then you go after Nicolino.
See what he gets. 1-2. That's a perfect pitch. That's out of the zone. He chased it, and the inning ends with 2 on base. 4-0 quick start for the Nationals. Legally, this copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority. The Marlins may not be reproduced, retransmitted in any form. Couch descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Marlins, yada, yada, yada. Justin Nicolino faces Bryce Harper. And Nicolino will try to adjust from a raucous second inning. The Nationals open that inning going homer, double, double. And then after 2 outs, Michael Taylor hit a 2-run homer. And that's how you get a 4-run inning. Harper takes down low. Bryce Harper, of course, the focus of a lot of discussion and comparisons to Barry Bonds over the last 2-3 weeks, especially in the wake of that series against the Cubs. High pop. And that is out of play.
That was way up there.
Harper leads the major leagues with 45 walks. In 12 games, he drew 28 walks. And according to Elias, the only other player in modern history, and that's since 1900, with 28 walks in a 12-game span, was Bonds in 04. Changeup misses in. 2-2. So yeah, a lot of walks. He lined out to center on the first pitch he saw in the first inning. Over 58 plate appearances, 28 walks. Bonds was asked if he had any advice for Harper and his advice was pretty simple, and that was steal second base. That's what his father told Barry when everyone started to walk Bonds, and Bonds would end up stealing over 500 bases in his career. And you know, Harper has the speed, but he's been injured on a couple of slides in his career. Nicolino, nifty pick, and gets the out.
See right there what Bryce Harper did, even though you can assume the out was going to be made easily by Nicolino. It's about running hard to first, and he always does that, but right there he conceded right out of the box, and that's where he would have some issues with Matt Williams last year of not running hard throughout the base, where Dusty Baker's a different type of manager. He'll let that one slide knowing that he needs his bat.
Bouncer to second, Dietrich on to first.
Watch what I'm talking about right out of the box. Hits it right back at the pitcher, just shuts it down. Matt Williams last year would not put up with that. Would let him know, sometimes even take him out of the game.
Would you say, though, that Harper plays the game as hard as most, maybe more so?
Yes, he does. He plays the game, sometimes a lot of people feel with a reckless abandon, but that's just the way he's built, and he will continue to do so. In the era of the 60s and 70s, it was Pete Rose that played that way.
Jim Edmonds, a guy that comes to mind a little closer to today. Zimmerman absolutely clobbered one. It was his 9th home run here at Marlins Park. The only guys that have hit more are Marlins. And Nicolino, a nice bounce back inning. From fly ball outs in the first to 3 ground ball outs in the third. She threw out the first pitch.
Which one?
The one with the phone in front of her face.
Oh.
Lexi Pantera, who I've been told is one of the top twerkers in the country. If twerking were an Olympic sport, Bob Costas would be doing a profile of her. And you never know, that might be an Olympic sport before too long. Justin Nicolino, Derek Dietrich, and Martin Prado.
So she's a master twerker.
Yes, she has a degree, an advanced degree in twerk.
If it gets you to throw out the first pitch, twerk away.
Nicolino strikes out. Roark now first run through the lineup. 2 singles, 2 strikeouts. 5 outs on the ground, and he hit Derek Dietrich. And here's Dietrich, who stands in. Roark hit Dietrich earlier this year. Breaking ball for a strike. That's a base hit for Dietrich. It's down the line. Harper has a rocket for an arm, and Dietrich's not going anywhere.
Well, after getting hit by a pitch, pretty good at bat. Right here, watch Roark. You think he wanted Zimmerman to catch it? Jump? Nope. No catch. Go back up. Pitchers feel everything off the bat.
Now, Roark was able to get around hitting Dietrich by getting Martin Prado to bounce into a double play. I know you spend a lot of time on Fangraphs, as you should. It's a great site for all things baseball. Stats you see in no other place. And Prado, according to Fangraphs, leads the National League balls in play to the center of the field at 46%. That's good in terms of getting hits, but it can be problematic with a runner at first and less than 2 outs. And that's where, as you pointed out, Prado at times will really concentrate his efforts. So much so that he'll slide that back foot back and try to shoot the ball into right field.
A lot of hitting coaches call that the scissor cut. Scissor cutting the back part with your leg, keeping the bat in the zone longer. See right there how he chokes up on the bat. Then watch at home his back foot on the swing if the pitch is down and away. See it right there slip off. Actually, Hank Aaron used to do the same exact thing. If you look back and look at his record-breaking home run, he scissor cut it in Atlanta that night.
Maybe the best in the ballpark at doing that is Hugo the Barber.
He can scissor cut.
Yes.
And clipper cut a lot of guys.
1-2. Breaking ball in. If you're new to us and you don't know who Hugo the Barber is, Hugo is one of the most renowned, if not the most renowned, barbers in Major League Baseball. So much so that he has his own little barber shop here at Marlins Park. Visiting players will wait till they get to Miami to get a cut, and obviously Marlin players have his access every homestand. Swing and a miss. And Prado strikes out. Roark now with 3 strikeouts. Here comes Yelich with 2 down. Sunday, this 3-game set ends at 1:10, a Sunday fun day. The Pepsi 4 for $74 pack is available, and you can celebrate Japanese Heritage Day at Marlins Park. Why? Because the first 12,000 fans get an Ichiro hit counter. Hit counter bobblehead, courtesy of Tire Kingdom. Marlins.com. Tickets and for details. Ichiro's hit counter will come in handy, as he is just 50 away now from 3,000.
Every Japanese person's probably saying "sugoi," which means that's very cool. Learned a couple words while I played over there in Japan. That was one of them.
What was your favorite word that you learned over in Japan?
Haraheta. Haraheta. And yes, I've been guilty of saying that I talk a lot about food.
Okay.
But haraheta means I'm hungry. It is what it is, guys.
Yelich, a little tapper. And Tanner Roark looks like a changed man. 3 previous starts, 0-3 against the Fish. Tonight he's up 4-0. the fourth. Rich Waltz, Eduardo Perez, Craig Minervini, Jeff Conine will join Craig for Marlins Live post game. Now that's a hat. I like it. Look at that. Love the necklace, the shells, the hat. That's a weekend hat for Miami, if ever I've seen one.
Is the Preakness tomorrow?
I believe so.
That's why. She's ready. She's in line.
Justin Nicolino ventures into the fourth, and he gets Anthony Rendon, Wilson Ramos, and Danny Espinoza. Rendon doubled back in the second. Breaking ball, bouncer. Echeverria to his left gets the out at first. So all of a sudden, Nicolino is getting ground ball outs after giving up 4 runs on 2 homers and 2 doubles. That was in the second inning. He has 4 ground ball outs since.
Well, he's been doing it with the off-speed pitch, keeping it down in the zone.
Ramos takes outs. The Phillies are home. Certainly the Nationals and the Marlins are not into scoreboard watching at this early date. To right, and Stanton to the wall, and he makes the catch. Giancarlo, good angle, good pursuit. That's a play that he makes well, and he hauls it in.
Watch this changeup right here, starting out in the zone and then getting out of the zone. Even though Ramos barrels it, can't muscle it out of here. And Giancarlo takes a nice jump, knows exactly where he is, doesn't have to look back, does not feel the warning track at all until that last step, and makes the play.
2 outs, and here's Espinoza, who flied out to the warning track and left back in the second. That one lifted just shy of the same spot. Stanton makes the catch. That's 6 pitches. Miami down 4. Giancarlo leads it off. Baseball on Fox Sports Florida. It's brought to you by the all-new 2017 Chrysler Pacifica, by Checkers, fast foodies know the deal, and by your South Florida Chevy dealers. In Miami tonight, night is falling. Lights are starting up. Friday night in the Magic City. And at Marlins Park, the Nationals have put 4 early runs up. Giancarlo Stanton bounced to short, his first at bat. He swings and misses and a slider, and it's 0-1. Eduardo Perez documented the work that Barry Bonds and Don Mattingly and Stanton all did early. Pulls that one. You hear words like balance. Oh, 2. Fastball up. Oh, he went. So says Mike Everett. So Stanton strikes out.
And
he did.
Well, you can talk about balance and all, but one thing that has to happen first is being selective with pitches in the zone. Knowing that you are the guy that people pitch around, try to be too aggressive, try to do too much. It's hard to be that guy. I know Barry Bonds was able to be successful like that, but you've seen Bryce Harper start the way he has, and then being pitched differently. It was an adjustment. It has been an adjustment period for Bryce, and I believe it's an adjustment period right now for Giancarlo. Has to be able to accept the walk and swing at pitches he can control.
1-2 to Marcell Ozuna, who bounced to second in the second. 3 hits, all singles, and 1 hit batter. Those are the only blips on Tanner Roark's line, with 1 out here in the 4th. The significance of the win last night by the Nationals. Everyone talking about Daniel Murphy coming back, having a big series. Murphy homering last night against Harvey. But I think it was significant that it was Steven Strasburg who faced Harvey and beat him and shut down the Mets, because Strasburg is having a brilliant year. Just re-signed, nice long contract extension. All of the talk about the Mets rotation, and it is a good one. But right now, it's the Nationals rotation with Max Scherzer and Strasburg and Joe Ross, who are out in front of the Mets rotation. And that's with Syndergaard having a terrific year.
I spoke to Scherzer, and he told me exactly that. He said, we were able to beat Syndergaard. Everybody talks about how lethal he's been, but we were able to go out there and beat him. And I think that really gave the Nationals confidence, knowing that they can stand out and still compete against the pitching of the Mets. Let's not forget last season.
Ozuna, left field and deep and gone.
Well, into the bullpen over the Goya sign in left field. Marcell Ozuna continues to barrel up pitches.
He hit it off Roark figuratively and literally. Watch where this ball lands on the home run by Ozuna.
Wow, he's feeling very, very confident at the plate, so well balanced. And again, it's about pitch selection. As you said, watch where this ball lands. Hello, Tanner. Changeup up in the zone. See how the bat head stays through the zone long enough to be able to make the adjustment.
Zimmerman gets to it. Bohr is out. All of a sudden, Ozuna is having at bats that are 8, 9, 11 pitches deep. And there's Bonds, who still is letting Ozuna use his bats. So that's
he's
8
listening.
of the season.
teacher to pupil. That's right, son. That's how you do it. Ever since spring training, I asked Barry, who is that one guy you're looking forward to see improve? He said it's Marcell Ozuna. He's working hard every day in the cage, and it'll take time, but it'll come through. And so far, so good for the Marlins center fielder.
Realmuto takes a strike. JT single back in the second. Miami gets a run back, but down 3 here in the 4th. And the count 2-1. Realmuto, one of those guys that when people look at the Marlins' success offensively, he's down the list, but here's a guy who's hitting over 300. 315 average with the base hit in the second. 10 doubles, couple homers. And when you get that out of your catcher, you gotta be pretty pleased with that. Murphy gathers it in and gets the out. Marcell Ozuna homers, and Miami is on the board. But Tanner Roark and the Nationals still up 4-1. This date in Major League history, brought to you by Geico. Barry Bonds hits number 714 to tie Babe Ruth for second all-time. Bonds actually was the designated hitter in that ball game. And the game was in the Bay Area, but it was across the bay in Oakland. Tanner Roark to left. Yelich is back and shy of the track. He makes the catch. For Justin Nicolino, he's rebounded from that second inning. He's retired 7 straight, now 8 straight since the Michael Taylor 2-run homer. And here is Michael Taylor. Always good for Taylor to get back to Fort Lauderdale. He didn't waste much time, does he?
And that's one of the knots on him. Being that leadoff hitter, Dusty Baker in spring training said, just hit, don't worry about being that leadoff guy. Just hit.
After this weekend series, it's time for the Marlins and the Rays to renew acquaintance for 4 straight games. The first 2 will be here in Miami, and Monday night is all-you-can-eat seats. And a South Florida Heroes Monday Go to Marlins.com for tickets. All you can eat seats just $25. Military personnel, vets, and first responders with a valid ID get in for free. Jason Worth, single and a strikeout. What do you notice about Nicolino that's different here than that ill-fated second inning?
He's not pitching down the middle of the plate. You do that to major league hitters, you're going to get hit. Right there, Jason Worth was taking all the way 1-0. But watch and observe Nicolino. If he can hit the outer half and the inner half of the plate, and what I mean, not down the middle, but just the corners, he's going to be effective. He knows what type of pitcher he is. The type that needs contact and early in counts. The more the hitters see it, the easier it'll be for them to track it.
Worth to center. Ozuna is there, and he makes the catch. That's just a 7-pitch inning. 4-1 Nationals. In a winner-take-all fight for $1 million in the NASCAR Sprint Cup All-Star Race, 8:30 Eastern, only on FS1, or watch it live on the Fox Go app. A little bit of cotton candy halfway through. Danny Echeverria, and a little tapper out between the plate and the mounds. Captured there by Roark, and he gets Echeverria. Nicolino is scheduled up second. Echeverria going after the first pitch means Nicolino comes to the plate now.
And Don Mattingly most likely will give him a take or two right here. As Echeverria swung at that first pitch.
Is a pitcher himself conscious of that? That, hey, look, I need a little bit more time.
Well, and he didn't take right there a bad pitch away, but that's really on Don Mattingly giving him the take sign. It's not much on Nicolino. I don't think he's aware of it, especially coming out of a 7-pitch inning.
Yeah, maybe he thought he was going to get something good hit. Nicolino fouls that one off. As a hitter, 1 for 33. Roark out in front, 0-2.
fielder, watch out if you're sitting on the third base side. Tanner's pitching Nicolino away. He's a little bit late. All the Marlin players in the dugout, they're making sure their heads aren't popping out right now over the screen.
Nicolino chases, and Roark gets strikeout number 5. Coors Light, cold hard fact. There it is. Season series right down the middle. Amazingly, this is the 11th meeting. Start of a 3-game weekend. And just about everything is pretty darn close.
See the batting average of the Marlins. Home runs of the Nationals is the equalizer with 12.
Dietrich back in the box. Frustrating series in Philly for Dietrich. But this is a ballpark in which he's been very comfortable. 341 average. He's 1 for 1 tonight. Hit by a pitch and a line drive single. That was in the 3rd. Roark picking on that outside corner. Braves still lead the Phillies 2-1 in the 5th. And the Mets are losing at home to the Brewers, who are playing better baseball. Brewers just won a series from the Cubs. Milwaukee 5 games under. The Mets 4 games over. Cubs, incidentally, are in San Francisco tonight. That's a Jake versus Jake. What are you wearing, Jake? Matchup tonight. Arrieta and Peavy. And they've had opposite type seasons, with Arrieta's ERA 1.29. Peavy's in the mid-7s.
But they do have something on their mantle. They share the Cy Young. Won a lot earlier a few years back and won last season.
Peavy has a Gold Glove on that mantle. He shared that with Jeremy Hellickson, whom the Marlins just saw in Philly. Marlins 2 against the Rays here. Both those games on Fox Sports Florida. Monday night, Tuesday afternoon. Busted bat, look out. Don't catch that. That's scary stuff.
I really like how Murphy and Zimmerman have a lot of fun with it. Another breaking ball, this time on the inner half, and you see that maple bat just slice in half.
One thing that changed a couple of years ago is whenever a maple bat or any bat breaks, Major League Baseball will log it, look at it, study it, as they continue to try to find ways to keep those bats from shattering. 1-2.
Well, it's so scary. I remember Donnie Long in LA coaching with the Pirates, got hit with the flying bat and actually had to have a lot of stitches as the bat cut through his face. And your tendency is you look for the ball. You don't look at the bat. So he was following the ball, and here comes the bat head right at his face. Sliced it up, and it was an ugly situation. We've seen a lot of fans get hurt also. So I think Major League Baseball is doing the right thing by logging those and being able to study what maple bats have been able to, unfortunately, accomplish in the game.
2-2 coming. Fastball up.
One incident when it was the Florida Marlins, right? Tyler
Yes.
Colvin, third base.
Wellington Castillo was the hitter. Fastball in, Dietrich walks, so Eric Dietrich continues to get on base.
It's a great at-bat.
His on-base percentage right around 400 now this year.
That's a great at-bat. You see those 2 pitches on the bottom right on the Fox tracks where it says 2? Those were called strikes. Both were breaking balls on the outside corner, yet Derek did not chase with all the other pitches, protecting the inside part, but not chasing the pitch up in the zone.
It gives Prado an at-bat, and Martin has bounced into a double play and struck out. Prado came into the game with the best personal numbers against Roark, 9 of 18. Roark's been living on that outside part against Prado.
But he's been living on it with both pitches, the fastball and the slider, and that's what has Martin thinking and off balance. I wonder if he dares to come in. I don't know why he would, because he's been successful away.
Ramos sets up out, and Roark misses even further out. Count 1-2. Prado, the toughest player to strike out in Major League Baseball, but he struck out in the third. He's 1-2 here. Fastball, there's that scissor cut into right field for a hit.
Talked about it earlier. That's what he strives for. You can get out a regular routine ball player away consistently, but really good players make the adjustment. You see the balance right there. You see the determination of going the other way, eliminating the pitch inside and driving it to right and using his strength, which is using that hole.
Now Christian Yelich, who has bounced out twice to second and back to the mound. And that curveball doesn't catch the plate. 1-0. Yelich's numbers to start the night thick all the way through. The 13 doubles and the 5 homers have him slugging .530, and his on base has been among the league leaders from the very start, right around .420 right now. Fastball, that one tapped back to the mound again, and Roark has had Yelich's number tonight. Miami leaves a couple, head to the 6th. It's 4-1 Nationals.
.4-1. Bryce Harper, big part of the lineup, will lead off, and Daniel Murphy coming up next. And what a month he has had for the Washington Nationals, one of the best average-wise in the history of the Expos Nationals franchise. Look at the numbers. Only Bob Bailey and Jose Vidro better. Look at Pudge Rodriguez on that chart as well. 413 April 2010. And Sean Berry Expos 413. But Bailey's number 460 in July of 1970. Way over his career average. Was just between 250, 260 career hitter. Bailey has a 17-year career. There he is. It's my old baseball card from Bob Bailey, who had 118 homers with the Expos. He had a long career, 17 years with 5 teams, but his best years indeed came with Montreal as Bryce Harper rips the shot down the line, and that's going to be extra bases for him as Stanton gets the ball back in. Now, Bob Bailey, interesting stat, guys. He was not a fast guy. He had his odd stat of his career. He had 83 steals and 82 caught steals. It's kind of odd.
Well, wait a minute now, Craig. So is that your card that you?
That was my card. Took a picture of it today and sent it to our fine staff. Yes, I think that card is from 1971.
So today, as you were preparing for the game and Bob Bailey's name came up,
yes,
you said, you know what? I've got that card.
I knew I had the card and I couldn't find him. Like, I know I have. Everybody remembers Bob Bailey from the early 70s.
Now,
he was a good player.
Now tell me, those that collected cards in whatever sport or whatever fashion, there was always the guy that you got like 10 of them.
Yeah, that's right.
In the Peanuts cartoons, it was a fictional character named, I want to say Joe Shabotnik or something like that. Now, so was Bob Bailey the guy that you got too many of when you wanted like Tommy Agee or somebody like that?
That's right. Usually it was always the nondescript kind of player that you had too many of, and you never had too many of the stars or the Rookie of the Year cards that would later be popular. But I'm just happy I have the cards still. Put them in a little book, and probably, you know, everybody has that little span of 3 or 4 years when you're a kid, and that's probably the years that I had my card collection. And maybe I'll do a feature on it one day. Some fun stuff going through that.
Is he your favorite Expo card?
I think I just liked his name, him and John Bacabella.
That's right. That's where I was going, actually. You read my mind.
But how big is your collection?
I have about 4 books from 70 to 75. That's some good cards. I'll have to do a feature on it one day. Go through it.
A book consists of how many?
Oh, but they're probably that thick, 9 pages. It's, you know, big loose leaves, let's say.
Nice.
Big loose leaf.
It's a lost art. I love it.
I got a lot of your dad in there too, by the way.
Daniel Murphy at the plate pulls it foul. Do you remember your first baseball card in the big leagues?
Oh yes.
Did you pose for it, or was it an action shot?
It was an action shot. It was a diving play to my right when I was playing third base. I was so pumped up, upper deck. I think I made the play too. One of my few defensive stellar plays before.
Captured for all time. Murphy, a broken bat. Harper's going to race for third. The throw. Echeverria got him. How about that? Harper is a fast man. Echeverria was off balance, and it took a little ballet move by Prado for the catch and the tag.
And you would say that because the play is to Harper's right, not to go, but watch the jump that Harper gets.
So I think Washington's video room probably looked at it and said, hey, he's safe. Maybe they didn't watch the whole play.
And observing and watching what Washington's, especially what Dusty Baker has done all season long, is sometimes challenge plays where the player believes, hey, listen, I was safe. And just to make sure Dusty is willing then to sacrifice his replay. He's safe there, but then he's off. and he's out. He's still with the tag.
So he's out. Call is confirmed. So clear evidence to the umpires. And Don Mattingly's on his way out to the mound. And that'll do it for Nicolino. He wants a right-hander to face Zimmerman. Dustin McGowan is ready. Nicolino exits here in the 6th in a 4-1 Nationals lead. And we take this Wes Kendall call to the bullpen. That's a nice matchup for Fox over the air tomorrow night. Aaron Goldsmith, Cliff Floyd have the call of that game. 7 o'clock start. Jose Fernandez and young Joe Ross. Brian Zimmerman's ready. So is Dustin McGowan. Daniel Murphy's at first. McGowan steps off. Marlins bolstered their bullpen. Edwin Jackson today activated off of the disabled list. McGowan over to first. Murphy's back in. Zimmerman homered in the 2nd off of Justin Nicolino, who, if he could, would turn back time to the 1st inning so he could have that 2nd inning over. That the biggest speed bump, and it was an enormous one for Justin. He gave up 4 runs in the 2nd, but everything else clean innings. Zimmerman, who does not ever get cheated with a big cut, one of the stronger guys you'll run into. Counts 0-1. So the Nationals have lost their challenge. Now is not a bad time to challenge, because once you get to the 7th, umpires can go to replay if they feel there is a significant play. Managers can come out and lobby, but not demand or use the challenge. See McGowan's numbers. He's had a solid year, and you root for a guy like McGowan, who got back into the big leagues with the Phillies after missing so much time over the last 6 or 7 years with Toronto, when fouled back and out of play. Great to see him healthy. He had a nice spring, and he can be a really welcome arm if he's pitching well in that Marlins bullpen. Count 1-2. Saw that matchup for tomorrow night. On Sunday, how about this matchup? Adam Conley and Max Scherzer.
And we will be here.
To short, Echeverria. Dietrich's turn in time. Nicely done by McGowan. And a double play ends the National 6. 4-1 Washington in Miami tonight. Is the presenting sponsor of Miami Marlins baseball. 4-1 Washington, bottom 6. Tanner Roark has been terrific tonight. Giancarlo Stanton climbs in the box. Stanton has bounced out and struck out. And the fastball for a strike. As we told you earlier, Stanton with some extra batting practice under the watchful eye of Barry Bonds and Don Mattingly. Breaking ball, a strike. And it's 0-2. It's a 4-for-43 slide with 21 strikeouts. And another strikeout here.
And it just seems every time you're struggling, you're 0-2. Tough at bat.
Well, we told you about Sunday. It all starts with Marlins Live, brought to you by your South Florida Honda dealers, Craig Minervini and Jeff Conine. Max Scherzer and Adam Conley. The amazing thing about Scherzer, to me, if you ask someone on the street who follows baseball and say, hey, look, do you know who Max Scherzer is? If they said yes, and you ask them, what do you think his ERA is? They would say 1-something, low 2s. It's 4.01.
Well, he did struggle his last time out here against the Marlins. Wasn't himself. He was very emotional on the mound. When he faced the Tigers and he struck out 20, that was electric stuff.
Popped into center. Taylor makes the catch. He gave up in that ball game. 2 home runs, 2 solo homers. So the long ball is something that he's experienced this year.
I remember it was a Thursday getaway day, early game. Taking his time the first few innings on the mound, did not feel comfortable at all until he started upping his tempo. Then was able to get a few more innings out of his outing.
Yeah, 13 homers allowed. And that is tops in the National League. Ball and a strike to Bohr. Big shift on for Justin. He singled over the shift into right his first time up. And the Nationals are pitching him to the shift, and that means they're pitching him in. Of course, had success taking pitches away to left. Roark, a really nice changeup there.
But you see, with the changeup, you can afford to pitch down and away, because now you commit Justin to look a little bit in, and then when that changeup is down and away, he'll roll over. Most likely, most hitters roll over on the pull side, hitting the ball way out in front.
That is strike 3 called right down the middle. Tanner Roark looks strong tonight, and the Nationals still lead at 4-1. Trip brought to you by JetBlue. The Rays. Fisher there on Wednesday and Thursday. We've got Wednesday's game. Sun Sports got Thursday's game. Got that? Then it's off to Atlanta. They will stop by Gladys Knight's Chicken and Waffles on our way to Turner Field. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Please note the time of game on Sunday. Maybe a stop at the Georgia Aquarium, the aquarium in Atlanta. A lot to do there in Atlanta. Marlins' first trip to Atlanta, and this, of course, the last season of games at Turner Field before, I believe, it's Sun Life Park opens. Swing and a miss by Anthony Rendon. Here we are in the 7th in Miami. The Nationals piled on 4 runs in the 2nd inning against Justin Nicolino, and Rendon was in the middle of it. He doubled after a Ryan Zimmerman homer. Wilson Ramos would then double to score Rendon, and after 2 were out, Michael Taylor hit a 2-run homer. Sent into the gap and right, stands there, makes the catch. Couple of news and notes from around baseball. Number one, the Texas Rangers are getting a new ballpark. That's right, the ballpark in Arlington is going to have a neighbor right next to it, which will be the new ballpark in Arlington. This one with a retractable roof, climate controlled.
Well, it does get hot there.
Open date they're shooting for is 2021, I believe.
Oh, so it's not tomorrow.
Not tomorrow. Though they could probably play baseball in Jerry's backyard where the Cowboys play. That's so big. Fastball, swing and a miss. The other news and notes comes from the owners meeting, and Jason Stark of ESPN is reporting that the competition committee has agreed to change a couple things in baseball. Number one, the strike zone. Again, from the way it reads right now, the lower part of the strike zone is at the hollow of the kneecap, beneath the kneecap. And the committee has agreed on a motion to raise the lower part of the strike zone to the top of the hitter's knees.
That makes for longer games.
Well,
which Major League Baseball wants to try to cut back on.
The changes in a reaction is a reaction, as Stark says, to a trend by umpires to call strikes on an increasing number of pitches below the knees. The other changes in the intentional walk rule. No longer will you have to lob 4 balls outside the strike zone. Now, under this proposal, and it has to be agreed to by the players and all of that, you'll just signify intentional walk and the hitter goes down to first.
I don't like that. There are certain things that, yes, I get, but the intentional walk, there have been so many times where pitchers have not been able to throw it where they have to, and they throw it to the backstop, and everything changes. The entire dynamic of the situation changes. A run will score.
Prado, that was a sideways bounce, and Ramos is out. Now the Nationals don't have a challenge. Ramos is looking in the dugout like, hey, are we going to challenge that?
No, he was out. Good call. Great play at third base, barehanding it. That's the only play that Martin had. See the stretch right there by Justin. Look where he is with his foot on the back side of the bag. He gets him. Great call.
He is out. To your point, the Marlins have been involved in 2 of those plays, the most significant plays over the last, say, 10 years. Miguel Cabrera reaching out on an intentional walk in extra innings in Baltimore and lining a hit to center, which helped win the game for the Fish. And then Steve Cishek up in Seattle trying to complete a intentional walk, threw it to the screen, and it was a walk-off intentional walk because the winning run came across to score.
Right, and that's why there are certain things in baseball that you just have to leave, and pitchers in spring training, they practice the pitch outs. Now you're saying, okay, let's eliminate that. Let's eliminate little things that, yes, they might annoy the average fan that does not understand what the intentional walk really does, but at the same time, to me, keep it.
So the intentional walk will eliminate dead time, and the adjustment in the strike zone is designed to put more balls in play. Nearly 30% of hitters in the average game either walk or strike out. That's the highest rate of non-action in history. Good work by Jason Stark.
It's a game of adjustments, and you have to make an adjustment in your at bat, and a lot of guys refuse to do it. They refuse to choke up on the bat. They refuse to change their approach within an at bat. And they continue to go after the big sexy, which is going deep.
We could ask your dad about a play back in the 1972 World Series. Dick Williams, the A's manager, went out. Johnny Bench was at the plate. The A's, with I believe a full count, faked like they were going to intentionally walk him. Put the hand out, catcher stood up. I believe it was Dave Duncan, and then next pitch, fastball down the middle, caught him looking for strike 3. That was a big play in that World Series.
I really hope that the players do not accept the try to speed up the walk, the intentional walk rule.
So what, I mean, the interesting thing to me is the strike zone, because there's more hitters than pitchers, right?
Right.
So when the players union asks everybody, what do you think? I mean, you got to think all the pitchers are going to say, hey, no way, keep it. All the hitters are going to say, yeah, change it. How does that work?
It's a double-edged sword. How many players during the season, how many situations do you have the intentional walk? In the American League, you don't have it a lot because pitchers don't hit, where you do see it a lot more when it comes to the National League. And now you're talking about the zone change. That is actually going to lengthen the game even more. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to that person behind the catcher, the umpire, deciding if it's a strike or not, because that's not reviewable. The umpire doesn't want to switch up his own zone, because back in the day, before all the computerized strike zone, it was who's behind the plate. Oh, it's you know, whoever it may be. If it's Durwood Merrill, you're like, okay, he has a big zone. It's a pitcher's zone, so you better be swinging.
To me, it's not an umpiring issue, because the umpires are merely enforcing the law that as written, which is below the hollow of the knee.
Right.
They've done a really nice job of being very accurate with the help of the Fox track type technology that they use to be not only to give themselves a point of reference, but also get graded on their home plate. There it is, the Fox tracks. That's the, after every game, an umpire gets a DVD of his game with a printout and a report and how he did percentage-wise with calls in and around the plate. Fastball lined foul. A 96% is a pretty good night. If you're 96 and above, you've had a good night behind the plate. And we're talking about inches in many of these calls.
Right. And I like how Fox Track's zone just shows up, pops up every time we talk about him. He's like, hey, talking about me? I'm going to pop up. But you look at the zone, there he is right there. Every time it happens.
Here's the 1-2. That one knocked into center. Ozuna in there, makes the catch. Dustin McGowan with 2 nice innings in relief. 4-1 ball game, 7th inning stretch in Miami. Game summary, bottom 7, 4-1 Nationals. This was the big inning. That was a big fly. Ryan Zimmerman up into the Budweiser balcony. Nationals weren't done yet. Wilson Ramos, a couple of RBI doubles. That provided a run. This provided 2 more. Michael Taylor from Fort Lauderdale banging one up into the blue seats. Marcell Ozuna, Miami's only run. Ozuna continues his tear as he blasts his 8th home run of the season. And that's how Tanner Roark has arrived in the bottom of the 7th with a 4-1 lead in Miami. JT Realmuto up, and Roark throws strike 1. Danny Echeverria, and then the pitcher spot for Miami. Rich Waltz, Eduardo Perez, Craig Minervini. We were talking about the ballpark in Atlanta. New ballpark coming in Texas, it sounds like. Probably 4 or 5 years away. In Atlanta next year, and it's SunTrust Park. I think I had a throwback moment to Sun Life, but it's SunTrust Park in Atlanta.
Then I trust you on that.
Cobb County.
You like that?
Right by the, yeah, I know. I tried to go right by it. Here's the one. And I'm sure when we get to Atlanta this coming weekend, we'll have a chance to look and see not only the artist rendering, but the construction. Let's see what it looks like so far. 2-2 coming. Realmuto in the hole at short. Espinosa's had a really nice year defensively. We check in with Craig Minervini. Craig?
Rich, no lefty in the bullpen for the Marlins, although there is one tonight, although he's not on the roster. But there is some good news concerning the veteran Mike Dunn, who is 14 appearances shy of Braden Looper's all-time record for appearances by a Marlin reliever. He's had that left forearm strain. Tomorrow he's going to have a sim game right here, and then he's going to start his first rehab start of his career, which will be next week. He's actually going to start the game, pitch 1 inning on Monday or Tuesday in Jupiter, and then have a Thursday, Friday back-to-back. Following Monday, a final one. He's planning 4 rehab outings, 1 inning each, and then if he's feeling good, sometime you're looking at probably June 1st, the Pirates series here. Dunn will be back with the Marlins, and they could use that left-handed arm as Echeverria rips one down the line. That's good news for the Marlins.
Echeverria out. Echeverria says challenge. Jason Worth can still play left field with a terrific throw, and here's our first look. From that angle, you can't tell. This angle might be better.
Looks like he was safe.
It did look like he was safe.
Tagged the bag, but not the foot. Watch right there. Puts the tag on the bag, and Etchy looks safe.
I think you are right, but they're going to have to put the pieces of video together, take a look at each angle. You can see Murphy and Rendon looking up at the scoreboard. Crowd has reacted to the views that you just saw at home. Umpires in New York have a few more angles to look at from both the Nationals telecast and the Marlins.
And every umpire that I've spoken to,
that's a good look.
When it comes down to the replay, from that view, he looks out.
Ah, wow.
It has to be.
Yes, he has to be
concise, conclusive, and as an umpire said to me, am I willing to bet my house on the play for it to be reversed? If he's not willing to bet, if he just has a little bit of doubt, then the play would then stand. Which
is a great illustration of why the initial call counts so much in this equation. People say, well, this has minimized the umpires, but it's still rather significant what the original call is.
You look at it from this angle. First, he tags the bag, but can you see that foot tagging the bag before the glove gets to the foot? It's hard to tell. It was really difficult to tell.
You know, the one thing, I mean, if you want to do CSI Chelsea Piers, which is where the replay center is, watch on that shot, that last shot, and see the base move, and see if the base moves, which would mean Echeverria has arrived. I'm not sure the Marlins feel too good about this. And he's out.
I guarantee it'll come back as a stand, because there's no way they can confirm that. And if it comes back as a confirm, there's no way on that one. I would have to differ. And I've been in New York, I've been in Chelsea, and to have an angle and to see the player react the way he did, there's no way they could have conclusive evidence that he was tagged before.
But obviously no way, no evidence that he was in before. And so Cole Gillespie's going to come to the plate and take a fastball for a strike. As it is, it's a painful out for the Marlins here in the 7th. Playing time for Gillespie has been hard to get.
And these are tough at-bats. Coming in, you're down, have to work the count, try to get on any which way you can. Not necessarily you come in as a pinch hitter facing a lefty, could be facing a righty. Early, could be in the 5th inning, could be in the 7th.
All 5 of his at-bats this year are as a pinch hitter, as is this one. He fouls it back.
I guarantee you tomorrow he'll be facing Mike Dunn in that simulator.
It's a great way to get some at-bats.
Just to see velocity.
Full count, 3-2. And Roark misses. That's a nice at-bat by Gillespie.
It's a great at-bat.
Going to bring Dietrich up with 2 outs. Big discounts on all the action for less with the new Steals and Deals Tuesday offer. Discounted tickets on Tuesday, Marlins and Rays. Remember, it's a 12:10 start on STEAM Day. For more information, go to marlins.com today. Steam Day. It's all for the kids. Dusty Baker is on his way out. Dusty calls for the lefty, looking at the Marlins bullpen. Here's a West Kendall Toyota call to the pen. Sponsor of Miami Marlins baseball. It's busy out in front of the Colony Hotel. Bottom 7. Felipe Rivero in. And now Tanner Roark, after 6 2/3 really strong innings, can hand it off to his bullpen, and the bullpen's been just lights out for the last 11 days, an ERA of 0.68.
That just makes that play of Adaney at second base even that much bigger. When you're down 3 and you take that extra base, you better make it. Now that would have put the tying run at the plate with 1 out. Instead, 2 outs, runner at first.
And now Dietrich takes breaking ball, and that's not what Rivero is known for.
That's a swing and miss pitch. That's the pitch he wants to throw, maybe up 0-2 count. Now he's behind 1-0 with an electric fastball, 94, 95 miles per hour he possesses.
Dietrich bangs that fastball into left field. Worth cuts it off. Gillespie stops at second, and Derek Dietrich has his second hit of the night on a 2-for-2 night.
And Derek can go all in right here on this 1-0 pitch fastball. Reason being because of that 0-0 slider down and away. You get that fastball right there. Don't miss it. He doesn't. Gets that base hit again. The play at second base by Echeverria, big, especially when you're down 3.
Nationals' pen is busy. Sean Kelly is up. Now Prado, who was 1 for 3, and he takes the strike. So if you're Dusty Baker, you've got Kelly, who has been dominant this year. He's getting ready, but you've got Yelich, a lefty, on deck. Baker looks like he's going to pick up the phone and see if Kelly is ready.
Well, Kelly's there strictly for Stanton. Yeah, Rivero's done a nice job. Martin Prado, you look at his numbers throughout. He's got 2 zeros in his offensive column, 1 in the stolen bases and the other one home runs. So he's pretty much right now betting the house that Martin, more of a contact hitter. If he puts the ball in play, he won't hurt him with that home run.
1-1 pitch, a strike. Prado turns away. That's 1-2.
Well, he took that changeup, 87 miles per hour, right down the middle. See him step out, regroup, thinking the other way right there as he saw his bottom hand point that way.
Harper shallow in right, and of course a great arm. You saw Worth throw out Echeverria at second. Hit to right, but out of Harper's reach. Count 1-2. Prado very good against lefties. Of course, he's been very good against righties as well. 381 this year. One, 2. That one buried in the dirt.
Watch Rivero here. Check the runner. Then throw that changeup down in the zone.
Two balls, 2 strikes. You see Gillespie at second with 2 outs. He pinch hit for Dustin McGowan and walked. Derek Dietrich singled, the first guy to face this lefty. Right back to the mound. And an underhand flip, and that'll end the Marlins' hopes in the 7th. Frustrating night for the Fish. Down 4-1 to the 8th. of the Marlins. Rich Waltz along with Eduardo Perez. Now the Memorial Day holiday is coming up, and as usual, Major League Baseball, not only for 4th of July, but other dates like that, has unique headgear. That's the digital camo look.
This is nice.
The Marlins will be wearing matching jerseys as well.
Oh, yeah.
Marlins team store has plenty of these caps, so if you're in the market for a new cap and you want a digital camo one, great for mowing the lawn, yard work.
Hope you can find it.
Yeah, it's a cool cap. It's a 7 5/8. All right, what have you seen in this one? The Marlins and the Nationals have already played 10 times. Nationals up in this one 4-1.
Well, with Tanner Roark, he really made the adjustment today with the Marlins, establishing the strike zone early and often on the outside corner and being able to hit his spots.
Justin Nicolino had the major bump in the road, which was 4 runs in the 2nd inning. After that, he was able to, at the very least, give Don Mattingly some innings.
Yeah, he was. And not only that, short innings. We're talking 7-pitch innings, 10-pitch innings. Getting that defense back in there really worked. That 2nd inning really got to him. Too many pitches up in the zone, and they were attacking early, and this was one of them, the curveball.
It's a bunt attempt and a foul ball.
I don't like that. That's a 1-1 count. Taylor's been swinging a nice bat tonight, 1 for 3 with a home run, and you're going to show bunt, 1-1 count. Now you're down 1-2, susceptible to the strikeout. You see Dusty Baker shaking his head, saying no. It's not what you want out of Taylor.
What's your optimal count for a bunt then?
Well, I like counts that are 1-0, 0-0 counts early, but not with a strike. Get in the hole. Now you have to protect and open up the zone right there. Another pitch that Taylor had to chase because he wasn't sure. When you don't dominate the strike zone, you don't protect it like this guy that's coming up to the plate, it's not a good situation to bunt with 1 strike.
Jason Worth, always throughout his career, a guy that sees a lot of pitches per plate appearance. If they were now in baseball, they're into naming awards after players that did those things well, right? The designated hitter of the year award in the American League is named the Edgar Martinez Award.
Right.
If they were to give an award to the player that averaged the most pitches per plate appearance, would you call it the Jason Worth Award?
No.
What would you call it?
I wouldn't call it the Jason Worth Award because he's still playing. Let's first start right there. And I understand what you're saying, but I would have to go back in the history books and look for that guy that has been able to establish himself throughout his career and ended his career as one of the foremost and forefront players. Maybe the Roberto Alomar Award, taking a lot of pitches, working counts.
1-2. Worth, that's hit hard. Ozuna can't get it. It's by him, off the wall. I mean, that was absolutely scorched. And Worth arrives at 2nd with a well-struck double.
And this is the hard part when you're playing center field. The ball can knuckle on you. See right there, Marcel took a route to it. You're wondering if he can take a better route to his right, but if he does so, that ball's probably over his head either which way. The effort was definitely there. I don't think he had a chance, period, on that baseball.
Bryce Harper now, first base open, and the Marlins are going to walk Harper intentionally. It's the first walk of the night for Harper. If you were to give an award for the intentional walk, the guy that drew the most intentional walks, he's in the building.
He's here.
It's Barry Bonds.
And this is what they want to eliminate. Put the timer on. It's less than a minute. And so much can happen with a pitcher throwing a wild pitch in this situation, or so many trickeries could happen, like you talked about with Dick Williams, behind in the count and all of a sudden throwing that strike 3, or ahead in the count throwing that strike 3. Yeah, this award would be Barry Bonds.
If you were to name the trophy of getting hit by pitches, Don Baylor Award, but I don't think there's any question about that.
Don Baylor.
Modern day guy would be Chase Utley, but Chase Utley would be accepting the Don Baylor Award on an annual basis. Derek Dietrich might be in line for the Don Baylor Award.
But I like that Don Baylor did it without any shin guards.
Don Baylor, I don't know if you had a chance to see Don Baylor in your prime out there, but they would say Don Baylor would put a bruise on the baseball with the
yeah, you have to check the ball, not the arm.
Biceps that he had.
And it was without flaps, ear flaps on the helmet.
So Daniel Murphy. Nationals runners first and second, 1 out. If Miami has hopes of coming back in this ball game, this is a big moment for Jose Urena. Nationals bullpen, as we documented, has been really, really good over the last 2 weeks.
And this was I think it's a tough decision for Don Mattingly walking Bryce Harper with a guy like Murphy behind him. He's been so hot and has been able to capitalize, as this year has been with runners in scoring position, hitting .405. Dusty Baker giving that protection to Harper has really made it difficult on opposing managers.
Murphy bounces it up the middle. Dietrich won there, Etch's turn, and Bohr couldn't pick it. It was a low throw to his backhand. And the Marlins get just the 1 out. The inning's still alive.
Well, there it is, the 4, the 6. Looks like an easy play right there, and that ball has to be caught. I know it's not at the chest, but if you ask Justin Bohr if he would have been able to catch this baseball, he would have said absolutely that one is on him. I know the feeling, I've been there. That is a short hop that most of the time is caught. Just happened to be this time wasn't it.
All right, Zimmerman homered in the second. A couple of ground balls from there on a 1-for-3 night. Urena back up breaking ball gets a strike. It's 1-1. Worth and Murphy remain on the bases. It's a Nationals ball club that has an outstanding rotation. Their bullpen's been really good, especially the back end. Kelly has been unhittable at times. He's still down there. He's one of only 2 relievers in baseball who's gone at least 10 innings and has not earned, or has not allowed, an earned run. Fernando Rodney is the other guy. 16 innings of work for Fernando Rodney, 14 innings for Kelly. Two balls, 2 strikes. Runner goes, little tapper. Urena has it. On to first in time. And Urena gets through the 8th. Miami still down though, 4-1. summer, some of the biggest names in soccer converge on the United States for the 100th anniversary of one of the world's biggest tournaments. Coverage of the Copa America Centenario begins June 3rd across the networks of Fox Sports.
It's really good. It's really good right there. Centenario.
Thank you. I've been working on that and La Lechonera.
Oh, with Cuban Heritage Day.
Paul Costas. All right, here's Yelich with Giancarlo Stanton and Marcelo Zuna. And it's still Rivero who's in to face Yelich. You would think Kelly is going to come in and face Giancarlo. Ball and a strike. The breaking ball and that familiar strike call from Paul Emmel. Yelich hooks that into right and it lands in front of Harper. Well, he saw that curve again. And Christian Yelich with a solid line drive for a hit.
It's a nice job of staying in there for Christian. You see, eye to the baseball, staying through, getting that base hit, and that's exactly what the Marlins need. Leadoff hitter, as Dusty Baker has seen enough of from Rivero.
He's going to the right-hander. The Giancarlo Stanton coming up 4-1. Nationals, Kendall Toyota called to the pen. On top of the Marlins, bottom 8, nobody out. Christian Yelich with a single to right, and as we expected, Dusty Baker will launch Sean Kelly at Miami. And we noted one of only 2 relievers in Major League Baseball has gone at least 10 and has not allowed an earned run yet. Stanton up, fastball up and in, no swing, and it's 1-0. Kelly, 6'2", 230. Out of Louisville, Kentucky. Stanton fouls it back. Giancarlo has struck out twice and bounced out. Kelly got to the big leagues with Seattle. In the Padres bullpen last year, he was really good. Significant that Stanton is at the plate against a right-hander and not wearing his face guard.
See how he falls back right there. Talk about balance. That's not what you want from Giancarlo. We saw it earlier before going out west where he was struggling. He would fall back. Again, falling back. Needs to be able to stay balanced as much as he can.
Fastball, fly ball, right field deep in the corner, and foul and up in the seats.
Situations, as we've seen there in the past, they're going to happen. This is not the last time that Giancarlo will struggle, have a stretch of struggling. It's how he can minimize it.
Up and in. To my recollection, this is the first at bat against a righty where he hasn't had the mask in terms of planning it. I think there were a few times where he had this mask and that helmet not available on a pitching change.
Right here should be a slider down and away after a fastball up.
Pitch misses low.
That pitch right there made no sense whatsoever. 92 down in after going up and in with the fastball. 3-2, he threw a 1-0 slider. Rule of thumb, 1-0 slider means 3-2 slider. Let's see if it holds true here.
Slider got him. Struck him out. So down goes Stanton. Here comes Ozuna, and you've got Moore coming as well.
And those are tendencies that you'll get to learn when you start getting more and more at-bats in situations. Catchers, pitchers, they rely on the sequence of pitches. Again, if you see a pitcher go 1-0 slider after a fastball, the tendency is a 3-2. Guess what? Here comes that slider. It's its comfort pitch.
Ozuna now. And a strike. Ozuna homered in the fourth. Yelich still at first. Nats closer, of course, is Jonathan Papelbon. And Ozuna chases, and it's 0-2. Kelly looked so good in the Yankees pen and the Padres pen that the Nationals shelled out $15 million over 3 years. Maybe the most underappreciated and underpaid players in Major League Baseball. Middle relievers. That is lined to Murphy, who catches it and flips to first in time to get Yelich. And the Marlins are done in the 8th. Adage of look around and see where the outfield's playing. You almost have to add now infield shifts to that.
You have to. And this is why. Look where Murph is, completely a little bit out of normal position, playing more up the middle with Ozuna. As a runner, you have to look now not only at the outfield, but where the infielders are, especially on a line drive.
And Yelich's perspective, he sees the ball just clear the pitcher's glove going up the middle. You can see why he thought that ball's going into center field.
Well, Tim Timmons right there is trying to save his own life, getting out of the way. That's the umpire, second base umpire. That just tells you from the first base perspective, it looked like it was a shot up the middle. He's thinking maybe third base.
Been a frustrating night for Miami, down 4-1. Kyle Bearclaw now, third reliever for the Fish, and his breaking ball misses up. th appearance for Bearclaw. Has struggled a bit with control of late. He has walked a man in each of his last 5 appearances. It also has piled up 6 strikeouts. Count 3-1. The good news for the Marlins and for the Nationals is that Atlanta is beating Philly in Philly 5-1. That's bottom of the 8th. The Mets, however, are ahead of Milwaukee 3-2, top 9. Jury's Familia is in. Liner to left and a base hit. Rendon's second hit of the night. So tomorrow night, good night to come to the ballpark and see Jose Fernandez throw, try to run his record to 6-2. Joe Ross has been such a nice addition to the Nationals when they traded with the Padres to get him. His older brother Tyson in that Padres rotation. He was saying the other day in Washington, the Padres are hopeful that they didn't pull an a Dodgers. Remember, they had the 2 Martinez brothers, Ramon and Pedro. Ramon bigger. Bouncer up the middle, edge, dives, got it, backhand, out there. Day trip to turn. Safe at first. Ball was off the bag. Now, the Marlins don't have a challenge. The umpire can look at it if he thinks he missed it. Here's our first look.
Great effort right here by Adaney. Knowing you have enough time, there bare hands it. Justin makes the pick, and it looks like from this angle he could be on, but have to look at it. No, I don't think he is.
Well, I mean, the Marlins can look in the dugout, but they don't have a challenge. Here comes Mattingly. Now, okay, so you're a manager, Eduardo. How do you go out there and convince the umpires to look at this?
Well, you plead your case on this point, and again, this happens to be the situation of if it would have been called out and the Nationals try to challenge it, this play could stand. You see how much time from that angle right there, it looks like he's on. But the momentum, he wasn't able to stay on, and then watch how he tries to tag Ramos as he tries to pass by. The position player, this case being Bohr, is actually telling the umpires that he wasn't on the bag. Watch, he catches it and then he tries to tag Ramos. That right there tells me as an umpire, he wasn't on the bag.
So Mattingly probably went out and said, hey guys, my video guy says he was on. Now Dusty Baker wants to know, wait a minute here, he's out of challenges. Why are you guys looking at this? I don't think the umpires have even put the headsets on yet. Dusty intercepted them before they could put the headsets on. There they are waiting. This should give the folks in New York a little head start in watching the play. Again, the importance is the initial call. In New York, they have to see clear evidence that his foot was on the base, and I don't know in all of those replays that you can tell if his foot is touching the base.
Right, you look at all the angles, and they're even showing it here in the ballpark. You see the catch, and go either way with it, but couldn't have happened without Etche's play at shortstop. Again, to me, it was Justin trying to place the tag on Ramos. That tells me he wasn't on the bag.
So if you were judge and jury, that would tip the case for you.
It would. Then again, that's not what they're looking for in New York. They're looking to see if that foot was on the bag or not.
Nice work by Counselor Mattingly, though, to at least get the review and make the motion that the umpires went to the headsets. And that's the rule. 7th inning on. Umpires, if they think there's a possibility that they missed the call, they can go look at it. Obviously, you don't lose anything if you're the Marlins, except maybe believability if you want to try this again later in the game and ask for another review. That's a tough one.
And this just tells you how good of a job the umpires do in real live time to be able to come up and make the correct judgment. As much as we emphasize on their missed calls, and we don't emphasize enough on their correct calls because it's what is expected out of them. This, you see how much time Mike Everett took at first base to see if that foot was on or not. Have to give him credit, not making the call immediately.
And your point is the fact that Bohr actually put the glove up and tried to tag Ramos after he came away from the base is indicative of his apparent guilt.
Yes, that's it. The apparent guilt.
Dusty Baker tried to intercept the whole process before it went to trial. He
tried to persuade the jury.
He was pleading for a dismissal right away, as they were about to put the headset on, and then Dusty Baker got between them. Let's see.
Oh boy. He just told him something, he's gonna smile. This is odd.
He's safe. The runner at second is out. So one thing about this is that the umpires were able to look at both parts of the play. Slides fine. And they ruled safe there. So that's what happens when there is a review. You get to, as umpires, they will look at the entirety of the play. And maybe that was part of Mattingly's original plea to the umpires was, hey, that play at first is a really close one, but you know what? I think that slide might have been worth review.
The rules right here, talk about the blind side in quarterbacks and how important the outside tackle is. Well, You have to be able to trust the runner to abide by the rule.
Yes, you're right.
And slide into second base, because right now you are so vulnerable as a second baseman.
And that, I mean, that was, you know, the part of the Utley play with a middle infielder pivoting with his back to the runner, which was the part that, you know, really got him in trouble.
Yeah, when Ruben Tejada was just looking the other way, and you forget who that runner is. Back in the day, it was Hal McRae. Oh, watch out. Then even Mookie Wilson, Preston, or, you know, Preston was one also, and I was another one. That was the way to play the game back then.
So
now it's different.
Do you expect that Dietrich isn't in that position last year, and maybe middle infielders are feeling a little more comfortable and hanging in there right now?
Yes. Yes. Hitters, I mean, position players right now, especially middle infielders, are trusting, especially with all that has been going on in Major League Baseball, that the runner will slide through.
All right, Barraclaw walking the number 8 hitter, Espinoza. MLB.TV Premium, #1 live streaming sports service. You can watch every out-of-market game live in HD, over 400 supported devices. Eduardo Perez has at least a dozen devices, but not 400. MLB.TV Premium includes a free subscription to @Bat Premium, #1 app for live baseball. Blackout, other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Part of the latest in this week-long news cycle of baseball, the commissioner's concerns about pace of play and time of game. Part of that discussion centers on replay and how to speed that process up, as Clint Robinson gets the at-bat here. Do you see any part of the way replay is administered that where you can shave time off of it?
Not really, especially having gone to Chelsea and seen that. And to me, the #1 thing you want to do is get it right. And there's a lot of pressure on those umpires, and there's to be able to get that call right. They understand the urgency, but they want to be able to make sure that if a team is going to challenge a play, it's their due. It's their situation, and it's their responsibility to get it right.
Breaking ball,
looking for that
word.
It's responsibility of getting that play right, no matter how long it takes. And by the way, what is wrong with the game going 3 hours? Unless you're a professional, I'm wondering what is wrong with it.
I think
are they trying to make it an hour and a half?
I think the bigger concern isn't time of game, it is pace of play and dead time within the game.
I think a
close game that is back and forth and goes 3 hours, nobody realizes that it's 3 hours, and there's not a big worry. In that Jason Stark article cited that 30% of hitters. Here's a 2-2. Let me go back and read exactly the wording that Jason had.
While you look for that, to me, the biggest issue is pitchers don't throw enough strikes. The development is being made at the major league level instead at the minor league level. They're rushing players to the big leagues, and that's why the pace of play is not that good and not that fast.
That one pulled foul and into the seats.
Everybody's trying to strike out guys instead of pitching to contact, minimizing their pitch count. That way, staying in games longer and deeper instead of just going 5 or 6 innings and getting out and letting the bullpen do their job.
That one foul back. 30% of hitters in the average game either walk or strike out, the highest rate of non-action in history. So if you've got 10 hitters that come to the plate, 33 of the 10 are either going to walk or strike out.
And teams promote it. Teams want players to go deep in counts because it gets to their bullpen. So they don't want you swinging at pitches early in counts. At the end of the day, it's going to happen. You cannot compare today's baseball with the baseball that was played in the 70s or 80s because the analytics has changed the entire philosophy of the game.
Michael Taylor knows, since he's a Fort Lauderdale resident, that Checkers brings you Marlins Live. Craig Minervini, Jeff Conine will host. Tanner Roark's redemption. He's in line for a win after losing his first 3 starts against the Marlins this year. Edwin Jackson is up in Miami's bullpen. Well, this is one of the areas that have concerned the Marlins about Kyle Barraclough, and that's walks. If you're going to pitch at the back of a bullpen, you can't afford to walk a lot of hitters.
But we talk about momentum and tempo. How about the replay being just under 4 minutes at 3 minutes and 52 seconds? And I believe that this affected Kyle's momentum.
Breaking ball for a strike. So I guess the question again is, how do you speed that process up in a call with as many moving parts as that? A play at second and then the play at first.
Well, I say that if in 2 minutes the umpires in New York cannot get it right, then the place that they cannot make a call, then the plate stands.
I like that.
2 minutes to get it right.
Like a sponsored countdown clock. I mean, you could go like the ball dropping at Times Square, although they are in Chelsea.
But 2 minutes. If you can't make a call within 2 minute mark, let's go, move on. I don't think it's fair for the guy on the bump, the pitcher. It's not fair to the fans that are here.
Here's the 0-2. And he got him. A big strikeout for Barraclough. He strikes out Taylor. And here comes Worth. Worth has a pair of hits. He's singled and has doubled.
It's interesting to me, growing up, you respect the game so much. Like, this is the only game that doesn't have a clock. And now there's a clock for everything, for the pitcher to throw between innings, for the pitcher to throw between pitches. It's changing. The clock is here.
Barraclough, Worth, bags loaded. 2 outs, 9th inning. As we told you, Jonathan Papelbon getting ready. Worth chases, and Real Muto will simply step on the plate. Barraclough pitched himself into trouble, pitched himself out of it. Miami down 3 to the bottom of the 9th. Sports Florida, brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By the all-new 2017 Chrysler Pacifica, and by your South Florida Honda dealers. In Marlins Park tonight, behind Tanner Roark and the Nationals bullpen, it's a 4-1 game. And the very end of the bullpen arrives here, Jonathan Papelbon, who is down in velocity, but maybe not in effectiveness. 11 saves in 13 opportunities. The ERA in the low 3s. Justin Bour up first. Fastball fouled back. JT Realmuto and Adeiny Echeverria also coming up. On base percentage leading off an inning, Toyota trend. Marlins at 362, right behind the Cubs. And National League average all the way down to 319. Breaking ball popped up right into the triangle of defenders. Daniel Murphy takes it. Papelbon has an out here in the bottom of the ninth. Those National League East games are finishing right now. The Mets outlasted Milwaukee 3-2. Familia saved it for Steven Matz, who's now 6-1. And Atlanta is putting the finishing touches on the Phillies. At 7-1, Atlanta in Philly, bottom 9. Realmuto's 1 for 3. Realmuto left field. Worth makes the catch.
Well, if you're wondering at home why the Marlins are swinging at that first pitch versus Papelbon instead of taking a strike, it's because of reputation. Papelbon, being in the league for a long time, knows how to put hitters away when he's ahead of the count, and more importantly, he doesn't walk a lot of guys. He's around the plate consistently, so might as well go up ready to swing. Sometimes that's the best pitch you're going to get.
A strike. Echeverria, a 1 for 3 night. Oh, 2. Tanner Roark, 6 2/3. Felipe Rivero, a third of an inning. Sean Kelly, an inning, and now Papelbon's got 2 outs in the 9th. Pitch is in. Papelbon ready to walk off. The Jacksonville native. Echeverria into center field. That's a hit, and Miami has a glimmer of life here. And that's going to mean an Ichiro at bat against Papelbon.
That slider got too much on the plate. And Danny was able to barrel it right back up the middle. Important at bat to be able to get Derek Dietrich to the plate for the tying run.
And so here is Ichiro. Ichiro, as a pinch hitter, 5 for 13. He's had a wonderful start to the year, hitting .326. Echeverria is going to take a base. Papelbon misses with his first pitch, and it's 1-0. Marlins would love to get Derek Dietrich to the plate. And get him in at bat against Papelbon. Sunday On Japanese Heritage Day, Ichiro hit counter bobbleheads. Tomorrow night, Kevin Brown All-Star bobblehead. 1-1. Breaking ball, Ichiro up the middle, Espinosa on the run, got him. Bang bang at first. And the Nationals, on a nice play by shortstop Danny Espinosa, win game 1 of this weekend series. Jonathan Papelbon nails down the save. Tanner Roark finally solves the fish. And the Nationals keep a hold on first place at 26-16 with a 4-1 win. Marlins Live is coming up